Welcome to the Well Club, where the journey to wellness begins. Take a deep breath, open your mind, and join us as we explore the endless possibilities of well-being. Here's Dr. Rob Douk.
Jarek Tadla is a remarkable entrepreneur and mental health advocate who transformed his life from a dishwasher to a real estate mogul. His journey of overcoming not enoughness and redefining success as an inner experience has led him to become an author, podcast host, and a passionate advocate for men's health awareness. Jarek, welcome to the Well Club.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled to be here. I appreciate for inviting me.
You know, our origin stories are similar. Can you share a little bit about your path from dishwasher to successful real estate mogul?
Well, I'm 52 right now. I moved to the United States at the age of 21, and that's how my journey started. You know, I was a swimmer, go through some stuff in Poland, then moved here, and that's how the journey started. I started doing, as an immigrant. I didn't speak any English, so I started washing dishes. 7 years later, if I only knew that, I retired. And at that time, I thought it was a gift. Right now, I can tell you I was not ready for that. My emotional intelligence was zero at that point. And then from then, there was a struggle after struggle after struggle. So, and I was keep coming back in and out, in and out, in and out. And, build myself and figure out what's going on. So,
Wow.
and now we're here.
Yeah. So I guess let's just get right into that. Your story's so powerful because, as you've alluded to it, you were not ready to be retired, and that success was almost overwhelming, right? Like what most people are probably tuning in, listening to right now is this, like, just. I had Sunil Gupta on one of my first episodes, and we talked about the like this arrival fallacy, where you
Yeah.
think that right when right when you make it, right when you sell this transaction, right when you do that. What was that experience like for you? You've got an amazing journey.
Be careful what you wish for, number
Mm,
one. You know what I mean? And I always enjoy the journey, not the destination, and don't look for shortcuts. Our life is really long journey, and finding what is the most important is the most important. That is most important. It's us. I was searching for the outer wealth, and I
mm,
forgot about the inner wealth. And it got to the point a few years ago that I almost committed suicide
huh,
because I was looking for validation from the outside world, and my inner world was completely broken.
hmm.
And I don't want to have anybody go through the journey, and that's why I'm sharing my story, and we are here talking right now. So that's where we at.
Wow. Yeah, that's in parallel to my story being a refugee from Cambodia. It was just a story of survival in the beginning, and as us coming here to America, the land of the free, you hustle, you grind, you do what you need to do to make success, but that can hit burnout. Was that like, how did you get into real estate? What was that journey like for you in reaching the heights of real estate mogul?
What happened was when I moved here, it's like like being immigrant, it's the best country ever. And when I moved here from Poland, suddenly, when I arrived, like I saw the wealth, and I was overwhelmed. And I just want to get like everything, go to the store, get all the bananas, get all the oranges, all this stuff that I wasn't used to it. And it was just unbelievable easy. And because of the work ethics, I went to the school. I was in a school. I was working the restaurants, and I was also fixing cars. And I was like a $5,000 car. I flipped the car and make $1,000. So I was like, wow, if I do this on $50,000 real estate, I'll make 10 grand. If I do this on $500,000 real estate, I'll make 100,000. So the story, the plant, the seed was planted until there was one conversation I have with my at that time was my girlfriend family, and they said, hey, by the way, we live in one of the units and we rent the other three, and the three rents the, pay for the rent. And I'm like, got it. But Dr. Doug, I had no idea that that's my journey. I thought I'm gonna buy one fourplex and this is over. One fourplex turn to second, the second turned to third, then the third, turned to 10 units, 12 units, 17 units. Then that turned to, 70 units, then 100 units, 200 units, 1,000 units, 2,000. And just the journey just,
Right.
and it never stopped. You know what I mean? So it was like,
Yeah.
it was like a drug. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And what happened is because, I found all the answers, I was thinking outside the box, and I got all the right people, the mentoring, and just being going constantly to the seminars, the growth was going. But at
Mm,
some point I just realized, okay, that's enough. We don't need this anymore.
that's so good.
But I came out of retirement. I was like, okay, how to do this anymore? And then I go travel. No, I go back. No, I need something else. Then
Yeah.
I go to Ironman. Then I need something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, when you're in that cycle of success and you're rinsing and repeating your process, right? It sounds like you really found a way to scale your real estate empire. You're in the mindset of performing. You're an Ironman. You're a swimmer, so you're in the mindset of performing. When did you finally hit like rock bottom, and even contemplated suicide? Was that after you retired that you hit that, or was it during the height of your success?
Well, to tell you the true story, the first time when I had my skiing accident in 2016, I was doing Ironman. Okay, so I went from sedation in working, I went to sedation in training. So
Uh-huh.
I was just escaping reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just something more and more and more. That's why I
Yeah.
wrote my book, Not Enoughness. It was never enough for me.
You were chasing after that adrenaline, that dopamine kick.
You don't actually know. Well, you know what I was chasing? I was chasing from something outside to validate the world that I'm worthy, that I'm enough, that I can prove my points. Like, okay, there's, after buying 100, 200, 300, 500,000 units, there was no more to prove. So I have to find another source to get the validation. Instead of looking deep in, I was looking for the journey for the outside. And then I have a ski accident. I was 44 years old. And that was the first time I realized I went through life completely lucky. You know what I mean? I have no any struggle, no any hardship, no any at that time. I didn't realize wounds, trauma. Suddenly I had a ski accident. I was 6 months in hospital, 13 surgeries. I almost, lost my leg. I broke like bones in my legs, like in my hand, everywhere. And I'm like, this time I don't know how to do. I don't know how to deal with that. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be good enough father. I can't be run anymore. I cannot do Ironman anymore. So I lost my identity as an athlete.
Wow.
But not only that, as a father who I cannot play soccer with my kids. I cannot play basketball, baseball. I cannot play it. I cannot carry them with my leg. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that was the first step. But because I was so overwhelmed with recovery, the kind of cover again, I sedated with physical therapy and getting back to normal, and the feelings of emptiness kind of went away.
Yeah.
A few years later, I went through divorce. So there was another, you lose identity as a husband,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then also as a father, because either you lose the kids for 50%.
Yeah.
But I thought it's like God gave me the accident to kind of prepare for that. So I was kind emotionally already ready.
Yeah.
I was still a toddler because going through life, I have no emotional intelligence, just the grit and the drive and looking what is the most important.
Right.
You forget what is really important, because what important is the connection with yourself, connection with people, the relationship. But I was always on a go, go, go. I got other goals. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then any validation I could get, yeah, when you get on the top of the mountain, there's like rich people, the Bugatti's got 2 seats, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm on it. I'm on it. And went through this. And finally, I just realized, I need to do the work. And I was doing a lot of work, a lot of meditation. I got back my connection with God. My faith come back. My body got fit again. I started doing Ironman again. This time not race. This time not racing the Ironman because I couldn't run 26 more miles. I could walk. So I'm good. And suddenly all the wounds and trauma that I put on the carpet, my emotional body pain that I
Yeah.
never addressed it just spill out.
Started coming out. Wow.
Yeah, and I have zero reason. I'm not sedating with work, with workouts, with any drug or alcohol. I got begged in faith. I'm financially healthy. I'm physically healthy. I'm mentally healthy. I got connection with God, a relationship with kids, with everybody else. I found the love of my life, and I'm broken. And that's how the journey started. You know what I mean? First, I thought I'm sick, 3 days. Yeah, I'm a little bit sick. Three
Yeah.
days become a week become 2 weeks.
It didn't go away.
It didn't go away. And this time, I have no reason.
Right.
Like always before, when I had those thoughts, when I was losing with my demons, with the devil in my
Yeah.
head, I'm like, yeah, that because of that, I always have something to relate to.
Yeah.
And this time, I'm like, nothing. And suddenly a week became 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. How much did your faith in God have to do with it? I saw that, well, before we go there, I saw on your website, that you had, you're a friend of Sam Tejeda's who I've had on the show, share some similar stories with the three of us, right? Our backgrounds and how his faith and how God's played a tremendous role in his entrepreneurial journey. How much has, and we talk a lot about spiritual wellness within my 9 dimensions of holistic wellness, you know? What was that like for you? Because I feel like we're at right the juncture, you're busy, with the doing, the business, and then God somehow allowed you to pause with that injury, and you've got a divorce, so there's, like, this training ground of being now, of being versus doing, and that's very hard for successful entrepreneurs, is just to sit and be.
I'm getting goosebumps. Being present is the most important thing. And I
There you
forgot
go.
about presence.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So what
yeah,
happened? But the reason you also, because I was such a driven individual,
right,
I forgot what is at that time. I thought that's important. So myself, my spirituality, my connection with the spirit, with the heart, with the soul,
yeah,
with my brain, it was zero. There was like the chakra, shock it. It's like, no, no, we're not listening to this. We go on this.
right,
This is our goal. And that's what lost me. That's why my message in the last 3 years is like the outside world, there's nothing in the outside world that can help you in the inner world. And
right,
that's the inner world. I have all the outside world. The outer world, how many houses you have, how many planes you have, how many boats you have, how many cars you have. All this stuff is not important because when it hits you, I would say depression doesn't look at how much money you have in a bank account, doesn't check the color of your skin, doesn't check your status, how many PhD you have, how many businesses you have. It doesn't. It's
right,
all the body pain and just and I always talk about to people, it's like compound interest.
yeah,
I'm a businessman. So in real estate, they just compound interest that, the equity and everything accumulates.
that's right,
But because I neglected myself, in my inner soul got so neglected for so many years, so the pain was kind of compounding and was getting bigger and bigger. That's why I have a lot of conversation with my own kids. It's like right now you just little, you don't have as much garbage as many adults have.
right,
But what happened is there's a stigma, doctor, that we men cannot talk about it. There's, if you talk about this, the emotional issues or the voices or the inner dialogue or depression or anxiety, he's weak. He's not a protector.
yeah,
She's losing his mind. And this is what drove me nuts. It's in your head.
uh-huh,
I'm living it. It's not in my head. I was losing connection with reality because I was losing connection with my soul.
wow.
You know,
This
and
this is such an important topic, especially in men's health.
yes,
And I'm a trained psychologist, and I was doing the same thing. You shut off the what you think is a luxury to meditate, to pause, to be present, You don't have that luxury when you're going so fast. And like you, I was, scaling my business and my clinics, nationwide, 15 states at one point, thousands of employees. And then you feel this weight that if you were to settle down or slow down and just listen to the inner self, it's, I don't know, like a luxury that I didn't have at the time. And that's so far from the truth because that's where you gain your inner strength, right? Where your inner peace to be at your best, which is what you're talking about. And I think it needs to be spoken about in men's health, this like emotional intelligence. And you know what, Eric, I didn't have the words. As a trained psychologist, I didn't have the words because anger could be communicated in so many ways. It could be disappointment, right? It's not just anger. And so that's what we're doing at the Well Club, Eric, is we're trying to get people within 30 seconds, right when you wake up, you take a quick quiz and you know exactly one of the 73 moods or emotions that you're in and what to do with that. And you mentioned meditation. It's a guided reflection to, within 2 minutes, get your mind, your heart, yourself right before you move on within the day. It's a daily check, is what we call it. And it sounds like you have been on that journey, right? So, what are some of your practices, Eric, to get yourself in that place?
Brother, you connected with me right now. It's funny. The only words I knew,
Yeah.
it's angry or happy.
Yeah, that's right.
When I woke up finally spiritually and it's like, emotionally,
Mhm.
I I bought exactly like all these words that like the circle explain the feelings, emotions. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is this stuff? Like it's remember I'm from the Eastern Bloc, so this was not allowed. You either like you always put the poker face, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then becomes your identity.
Oh, I know.
It's completely like you said. And when I start reading, and I really have to have somebody else like, hey, can you explain this to me?
Yeah.
That's what it means. It's like, like a little kid.
Mhm.
And I'm grown as man.
Right. That's right.
And how can I tell these people? But the understanding is that if you chase the outside world,
Mhm.
the outer world, and you forget about the
Mhm.
inner world, when they start spreading at this time, the more you chase, the quicker you're gonna break.
So good. Yeah.
The distance is so far apart between the inner world and the outer world. And that's what happened is that's where we break. That's why we have 720,000 suicide every year.
Yeah.
That's why every one of 10 deaths are suicide. We have depression, we have anxiety, we have
Mhm.
all those sickness, all this stuff. A lot of sicknesses I know, and I don't want to be hateful that a lot of sicknesses comes to the stuff we put into our body, but it's a lot of sickness also comes because of the pain, the emotional pain we carry for so many years.
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
it eats us like it really ate me from the inside.
Mhm.
Like I constantly felt the pain and I couldn't describe it.
That's right.
It was just so empty because I just no. He what happened? I have a bigger deal. Daddy, or somebody, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do I have this problem. This is not a problem. I have $100 million problem. This is a
That's right.
problem. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was mitigating not only everybody, not only the loved ones, myself.
Mhm.
I was always the last one.
That's right.
And now, oh, it's a different story.
Yeah. I don't know why as you're sharing that story, it kinda reminded me this story where I had to play lifeguard, one summer. I mean, and the first thing they tell you is that you gotta take care of yourself so you can take care of others, and then you being quiet and being able to, like, care for the inner wealth. Now, everyone who's hearing might say, "Look, it's, how do you balance that, though? As you're building wealth and you're building security for yourself, how do you practice that daily for yourself now, Yerrick, now that you know how important this inner wealth is? Do you meditate? Do you pray? What's like what are the practices that are things that people could walk away with?
You know, to me, it's funny. I really thought I got it. So before I even open my eyes, when I pray, I apologize to God. I'm sorry. I thought that I got this. I don't need you. That I got a control of my life. And the apology is going for years right now. And that's my prayers. So I'll start my prayers. But I think the biggest routine I do meditate, I do cold plunge, I do pray, I do workout, I do all the stuff. But the biggest routine is I look it in the mirror every day and I just like literally look it in my eyes. It's like, I love you, dude. I'm sorry I neglect you for so long. I'm gonna
Wow.
take care of you today. I will not put any bad stuff in you. I will not put any alcohol. I will not put any drugs in you. I would not do anything, processed food, like all this stuff. Like, and I will talk to you nicely.
Wow.
I will not like the inner dialogue because I really talk to myself horrible. Like
Mm,
if you ever heard me the way I talk to myself, you will be like, Jesus, I don't want to be around this guy. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna speak to you nicely. I'm gonna put a positivity. I'm gonna put love and believe it that you are worthy. You are love. And I just it's a daily affirmation that literally take a minute. If you go look at inside your eyes and you go deep and you really like, hey, I did this, it's like it's it speaks to your soul. And the reason why I come up with that, because when I was really going through depression, when I was even shaving, I
mhm,
didn't even look in the mirror. I didn't
mhm.
know how I look. I was so ashamed of myself. And now I just look at it and the way, like, even when I take the stuff like with let's say with drugs or alcohol or really bad food, fried food, like a fast food, it's like I always say, it's like I would not put this to my kids, but yet I was putting all this stuff to myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I would not give it to my own kids. But then we give it, oh, I'm adult. I know how to deal with that. And then we're feeding ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there was also a period of my time when I lost, I also started drinking.
Right.
But what happened is when I was sedating with the workouts or working,
Mhm.
by the rules of society, Jarek was bravo, bravo.
Yeah.
He got successes. Suddenly I'm sedating with something bad.
Yeah.
Suddenly, thank God I had a good circle, right? Suddenly, like, Jarek, we need an intervention. Sit down, Jarek. I think you're drinking too much.
Yeah.
I've been hiding my entire life. And because I was hiding in the good stuff, nobody noticed that.
Right. Yeah, you're into the performance. The world needs to hear so much, especially, people in entrepreneurship or, in leadership, and they're dealing with a lot of stress, which, it's the number one killer, the number one silent killer, you know what I mean? Like, it does no good for cancer, it does no good for heart attacks, it only exacerbates it, right? So, I love what you're doing here as a ritual, within your routine to talk to yourself. So there is, and we've studied this very well, that there is healing as the neural pathways to rewriting those stories. You're retelling your younger self about, apologizing for that neglect, and you're literally looking at yourself and apologizing and rewriting those stories. In the research, we know at least what you say to yourself, positive or negative, definitely has an effect. Your body doesn't know the difference.
You know what? I always talk. My Bible really knows me because sometimes we're in the conversations, we're doing deals, or we just kind of have a conversation. Suddenly, oh yeah, yeah, stupid me. I'm like, whoa, and then I stop. Please do not talk to you like that to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like just come on. Let's go back to that. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna allow you. You're gonna be around me. We not even if you joking.
Right.
That's you because what happened is, oh, why did I joke like that? And then the insecurities comes. We
Mhm.
all have insecurities. It doesn't matter how many billions you have on it. How if you number one, Iron Man or number one swimmer or number one, you just won the MVP. Even Tom Brady,
Right.
like Leo Messi, he before the game he's got anxiety attacks.
That's
It
right.
just doesn't matter. We all have it. How we deal with that, and that we doesn't bring that the insecurities in us. And
That's so good.
we have to validate ourselves all the time. And it's normal to have a bad or good days, but
Hmm.
the way we talk, that's what is not normal, because that almost ruined me. That's why I almost lost my life. That's why I'm
Wow.
here sharing the story, because
Yeah.
I was talking to myself with zero empathy. And then because I did not have empathy for myself, I couldn't find empathy for others, and I was disconnecting more and more from my heart and my soul.
Wow. That's powerful. Yeah. How many successful people are there, right, that do all these outwardly things for validation because you're getting the applause of man, the applause of, you know, the notoriety of magazines and what have you, to fill that void that they're actually their biggest bully. They're the biggest critic. They're the ones saying that they're not enough, they're not doing enough, they're not smart enough, and those sorts of things. So I love that shift from trying to seek validation outside to actually internally validating that, hey, you are enough. You are a child of God. Let's enjoy every breath. And for some reason, that's filling, isn't it? It's not fleeting like the outwardly success because it's never enough. Like you said, your real estate empire, you're going after more and more and more and more. It never fuels you, it never fulfills you. But this shift seems to be like you seem to be like at the best place in your life now because you're starting this
Exactly.
inward journey.
You know, I'm getting goosebumps because suddenly even the businesses, the relationship, the connection route, everybody comes because you fill.
Yeah.
You know, your bucket is not empty. So you also elevate on different frequencies. So you connect. And suddenly you resolve problem in the different instead of victim mentality, you become you solve problems being in the moment and being present. So even right now, I could not sit with you or talk to you. I would now think, okay, I gotta pick up the kids. I have to this your clothes. I have to work on this. I would not be in it.
Right.
My world is disconnected right now. I'm in it. Right here. I'm with you, and nothing else matters because we can only change. We make only the decision at the present moment.
Yeah.
And when you lose the connection with yourself, your inner wealth, your inner world, what happened is that's where we go. Everything goes back, and that's like a lot of guys. The sedation with the alcohol, with gambling, with porn, all the addictions. It's just because there's something missing. The little child is wasn't healed. It wasn't even addressed
Yeah.
because I never addressed him. Dude, stop crying. Just, dude. I got bigger mission.
So good. So good. And I love that you're the spokesman behind this for men's health. I mean, you look like a macho, strong man, right? And you're rewriting the narrative that, hey, it's manly to be in touch with your inner self, know what your emotions are, live from a place of strength so you can give and outpour to others the love that you give to yourself. We, it's not that common to hear this narrative, right? Like in the old days, it was like, suck it up. I mean, I love the shift even in business now that people are starting to talk more about. I mean, gosh, I mean, even like 5 years ago, right? If you jump on a podcast, it was always like who was going to outgrind the other person. They got there earlier than everybody else, and it was always doing more and all that. That just led out to all those speakers actually having burnout. And now we're kind of going to, I feel like a season of like really redefining what success is. And I just gave a talk recently about success is kind of like what you do for yourself to kind of get validation and stuff. But significance is actually the legacy that you can leave. And now you're partnering with others. You're allowing God's power to work through you to do really impactful things, you know? And it looks like success, but it's coming from a place of power, like you're speaking of right now. I'm sure the way you do business is out from an outpouring of what you can give now because you're mentally, your soul, and everything's right, right? Before, I'm sure you can get it done, but it just leads to burnout, to depression, and the stuff that you were dealing with before. So, although it looked good from the outside, now you're looking good from the outside and the inside, right? Like
Yeah,
there's a cleansing process.
it's and not and when you get to the point, and what is nice is the game will never stop
Mhm.
because you always got to work. So it's not like you reach a goal. Let's say I reach $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. I reach Iron Man, or I finish this race. I finish, I win the competition, and then what? How many people get to the top of the mountain and they don't know this that game? It's infinite game.
Yeah.
It's and will never ever stop. And what happened is we are here to serve. And when you understand, when you get the awareness that the life happened from inside out, not from outside in, and the game is over. Like your life, you just were born. And I gotta tell you, like you said, 5 years ago, there was a lot of ego, a lot of transactional relationships, and because what happened is like I gotta do more, but not real for ourselves, just to prove the world. But here, what happened is we are now. I think our generation is like being awakened. Talk more about spirituality, about the inner world, being happy, because happiness, is the more happiness you bring, the more you receive.
So good.
That's
Yeah.
that's what the happiness is. But it's hard to give the happiness if you're empty inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that I told this 100 times on a lot of podcasts. At age of 48, I realized I make fun of like the oxygen on the plane.
Mm.
First, it goes to my kids, it goes to my wife, goes to my parents, and there is an older lady, somebody in need. I will give it to
Yeah.
them, and then me. Like, why are they delusional? You first, then your kid. I was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And now I understand that.
Mm.
That's why, like, monks or Buddha, they don't go to celebrities, to billionaires. Hey, I'm not happy. Help me out. You have everything. All those guys, celebrity billionaires, goes to those guys that have anything. They have everything inside them. Help me. I'm miserable. There's something missing. And we all missing the connection between our mind and our soul. And when we just open up and the life is just changed.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I'm sure you talk a lot about this in your book, right? So is there anything that we haven't touched that you want to highlight? Some principles or anything like that that you cover?
I always tell people, whatever you're going through, you are not alone. And it doesn't matter what you have, what you don't have.
Mm,
This is just the brain, the devil just playing in your head.
right.
Just to not, just share the story, talk to somebody, just open up, and we all going. It doesn't matter who we are. You and I, we do this podcast. We have the inner dialogue sometimes that that is like, yeah, no, we're not doing this today.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, just do not listen to your head. When you get to this inner dialogue that you don't like, start talking to it. Just be the guy to write the story and speak to yourself, and just talk to somebody. You know what I mean?
That's definitely power in that group support. And sometimes, like you said, it's accountability also. When a fella comes alongside and says, "You're, maybe you've been drinking too much this week or whatever," right? Like you kind of need some of that accountability to kind of it's tough. You don't have to do it alone. Where where are you now and what are you working on? Where are you headed? What's like what does the world look like in through your lens and your vision now, you know?
I there's 8 billion people, on this world. We cannot make everybody happy, but it just we gotta bring the awareness to the emotional challenges, mental health. It does exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think our health, everything is connected. Our physical health, our mental health, our financial health, our emotional health, the spiritual health, our connection, relationships, like everything is connected.
Mhm.
And it just I just want to just share the message. Don't and especially I know, like, out of the 720,000 suicide a year, 545,000 are men. But it just don't be ashamed. Don't You are worthy. You are loved. You are enough. You know what I mean? Just it's sometimes it's hard to break it, and it just go out there and tell the story. For me, the biggest thing was, even if I try to tell somebody, like, listen, I don't like my voices, like, I don't like how I speak to myself, I don't like what I'm at right now. A lot of people are like, what are you complaining about?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And truly, and what was triggered for me, it's in your head. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, like, you know what I mean? Okay, so I gotta change the bubble. I gotta change people. I
Right.
gotta change my surroundings. You know what I mean? It's sometimes you cannot get better if you in the same environment, in the same
Right.
you talk to the same people. And I know not everybody have the money to go to the therapy, But I really was going to therapy to get there completely. Like I could say something and I wouldn't be judged,
Yeah,
and that it's not gonna be bring back to my Bible, to my family, to my work, to my
that's
cycle,
right.
I'm negotiating high deals. Like I don't want anybody that I have issues. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
It
brother.
was
Now
it
you're
was
giving me
hard.
goosebumps. Yeah, you're giving me
Yeah.
goosebumps. We talk about that. I mean, you talk about holistic wellness, but that's we call that environmental wellness. Being
Yeah.
intentional about your environment, who you're investing time into, and how you're structuring your environment has a lot of implications with where you're headed and being really intentional with that. I love that so much. Eric, as we kind of start to wrap up here, what's the best place or way for people to get in touch with you and the work that you're doing?
I'm all over Instagram. Instagram is the best way, the DMs, all this stuff. I'm on YouTube, all this stuff. I'm coming up with some masterminds. Uh, and but Instagram is probably the best way. You can put a link with, my book is on sale. This is my book, Not Enoughness, The Gift and the Curse. It's on sale on Amazon. So you can get the book very easy. It's a true story. I go very deep. I get very vulnerable. Because it's like the whole world thought that I have everything, yet I did not have what is the most important. And we can relate with any other people, and just also just reach out to people. Like, there's something going on. Just reach out to people and don't judge. You know what I mean? It's because sometimes when somebody's going through something, it doesn't mean that we have an answer. We have to find the answers ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn. I'm a Taurus.
Mhm.
Nobody could talk me out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I I need myself, and and I need people to hold space for me.
Right. I love that.
You know what I mean? It's just it's a process. It's healing or understanding, and like I always said, it's our brain is very powerful thing, and it's connected with your soul, with your body. You want, but it's a fitness, like going to the gym.
That's right.
I will never stop. Like you and I, our conscious level, our awareness level is a lot higher.
Mhm.
We know this is like, where's the new tool? Where is like, I want to
Mhm.
work. I want to be clear with my brain. I want to, what I mean? Are we finding everything we can kind of tweak it, get better? So,
I
so
love
it's
it,
it's
brother.
never ending again. It will
Yeah.
never stop.
Eric, I'm fully behind what you're working on, and I appreciate your vulnerability. I really enjoyed having you on the show today, and, best of luck with what you're doing. I say keep going after it, keep it opening up space for people, and keep, sharing your story because it is very encouraging. There's more to success in the outer world.
Give me some of your tools that when you kind of have bad days, or recharge, reset on a daily basis. What are your tools?
Yeah, for me, let's expand on that. I, similar to you, had a tremendous burnout, and I had this arrival fallacy after retired, right? Everyone's taken care of. Um, I had a massive exit from a healthcare company that I started, and I really had to transition out because I was burnt out, and I knew it. And it was like 2 years in the making. Like it took 2 years for me to finally get out of that situation. Um, and I went on a quest. I've been to 7 continents to learn how different cultures interact, how they deal with stress and everything. And the one thing I realized, you know what it is? It's not one thing. I started my thesis studying this part of the brain that I thought was gonna unlock everything, the anterior cingulate cortex, which is basically part of the brain that kinda opens up a holistic pathway to pretty much everything. So I said, "Okay, if we just work on that like a muscle, that would cure everything," and that's not the case. I learned the more places I went, the more I learned that the mind, body, spirit connection is it's so holistic. We have to explore, so many modalities to make sure that we're well. There's a lot of research with mind body. A lot of people know that, and there's so much published. but there's not enough about the spirit and the soul that you were talking about today. They got you out of depression, that's coping
Yeah.
with it. And so that's the work that we do now. I call it neurobiotheology because it's the mind, body, spirit connection. And they're all intertwined, and there's 9 dimensions, from financial wellness to physical to emotional wellness, all that. They're all working together. But as like what you're doing is educating us today, the more that we learn, we can renew our mind and have new perspectives. Because something that hopefully people would take away from the practice that you do is simply looking at your soul and looking at your younger self and speaking truths into yourself is massive.
Like the feelings, like there's like, just go explore what is going on into your body. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, because I think the way we look at it is um, we can rewrite the past by building new habits. And we overly simplify it. If you can't afford to do therapy, we have trained coaches that basically work on helping you make better choices. Because we look at it from like the BCD model, from birth to making a bunch of choices and you die. So if you make enough really good choices in between, you don't have to follow the patterns of your ancestors who may be born into certain mental issues or alcoholism or whatever. You can find that right support to path a new way, and then that's going to influence your offspring, your kids and your grandkids and what have you, right? So something that's really beautiful that you said earlier, I encountered as well, and the greatest healing that I had was making peace with my younger self and rewriting my story, that it's not up to me and my control to always be up late at night, answering emails and all that. Because as a refugee who survived my mom smuggling me out when I was 2 months old from the death camp, I always kind of lived with this kind of survivor's guilt that I had to make my life matter. And then also a lot of out of fear because I was in an environment that was very harsh. There was drive-by shootings and that kind of stuff. So I thought I had to make a ton of money and live behind a guard-gated fence. And even when I was just a few houses down from Kobe Bryant, I never had that peace because the peace, like you said, is from within.
so, and I think I want to touch on what you just said because it's very important. The survival mode. That's not being in the presence. The survival mode, you constantly think about the outside stuff. Like you said, you next to like in the most secure neighborhood, yet you're still not safe because you are in survival mode because you don't live in the present moment. And you still have all these noises and being able and it takes practice, it takes work, to just shut the voices and just truly live
Yep.
your purpose, your life. And and it's funny you said it's not a one thing. It's just so many things. And it's just like, if somebody asks me for the one thing, I don't know. It's probably I gotta give you a list of 100. I don't know
Yeah.
which one have an impact,
Right.
you know. But to me also was that sounds like you said, we have to bury the old version.
Yeah.
And it's hard
Hmm.
because then we bury the old version and then we need something and then I go out buried and the old version comes into my new life and screw up everything again. I'm
Yeah.
like, why did I buried you? Oh, like this time I'm gonna dig you like 12 feet deeper so you don't come back even this. And then you go through the problems, you still, your conscious is not there, so you don't have the right answer. And then you go again for the easy answer.
Yeah. Totally. And I think it's even harder for those high achievers because they're so used to being successful by burning themselves out that it's easy to revert back to that, you know?
Yeah.
And then I kinda wanna speak to the younger folks that are kinda entering the market and wanting to pursue success and all that. It could be confusing when they're hearing from veterans who have been burnt out and now retreating back to the inner self stuff. It's not, a quest for laziness at all, right? We're not
No.
talking about that.
Oh,
We're
oh,
talking about no,
please.
in fact, it's you're retreating to the inner self to gain power, and it's through that overflow now that you can even do more because and here's a prime example. When my mind is really clear, it's super clear, and it's not foggy, and it's sober-minded, what I can imagine and envision in a business plan within 1 hour would take me 10 years before when I was hustling, right? Isn't that truth?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're referring to here is you gotta slow down to go fast, right? And to do things correctly. So
And it's funny they talking about it because when my partner, I do everything. Sam is my friend. Like, and I'm glad you know Sam. Like, he's responsible for me to lift the 120, 150. Like, he's not responsible. He's accountable for it.
yeah, I
And
love
and
that.
I'm like, use me as a whatever. Like, and for me, the brain fogness, the brain clarity. This is where my all ideas, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, I was never that creative. I never remember all this stuff. Like, how is it? You know what I mean? And I really like feed the brain, but there's a lot of like getting not only just reading and finding this. It's different. My creativity. I was never creative. I was getting ideas and then follow if it fits to my vision, right?
Yeah,
And now I'm creative. Like, what? Where
yeah,
is this coming
yeah,
from? So
yeah.
I just love it. I love
It
it. I
it
love it.
unlocks, like, all and, a lot of people may not know this, but I've studied Martin Luther King Jr., and that he does this before every great speech and all that. Um, the world usually rushes out of the house when you have a speech or your day's busy, and then maybe you might grab a waffle and you eat bad the day
Yeah,
because 'cause you're just
yeah.
rushing out, right? Because 'Cause you're getting yourself prepped, you're suited up and so focused on the outer, but Martin Luther King Jr. says it's in those days, his biggest days is where he spends extensive time in meditation and getting his inner power ready for the battle before he exits the door, which is really the theme of this talk.
That's what it is. And it's hard to explain it to somebody. You know what I mean? But sometimes like if you don't get it, will come time in life that you get it. Because I have a lot of people try to explain it to me. This
Yeah.
is not my shit. This is not
Yeah.
okay, Jarek. You will, hopefully it's not too late. So we're
Yeah,
here to bring the awareness that today is the day.
that's right.
Even if you think and here what happened is I really want to tell the audience, even if you think you don't have issues, that means you have an issues. It's like, if you think like every time I thought in my life I got it, that's when that's where the crash was coming.
Yeah.
So it's like, slow down, reset, thing, go through and find answers. So
That's so good. Yeah, they've been so suppressing it so much that they're not even aware that they have issues, right? That's a telltale sign that you definitely wanna get a checkup because
yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Yarrick, what a pleasure, brother. It's so good to have you on, like the
Thank you.
insights that you shared, the journey that you're on. I'm rooting you on from here.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you for sharing the work and do everything. And it's like, let's change the world one at a time. One at a time.
Let's do it.
Don't be
Let's do it.
shy. Be vulnerable and just tell the story. You're not alone.
Let's do it.
Thank you for having me here. Love you, brother. It was amazing. Thank you.
This has been The Well Club. Remember that wellness is not a destination, but a continuous path of growth and self-discovery. To learn more about Dr. Rob Douk, go to drduke.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and always remember to nurture your well-being. The Well Club is a production of Forbes Books.